everyone, I'm Shaylin here with Reedsy. Today we're going to be talking about how to find time to write. This is a challenge that most, maybe all writers are going to face unless you somehow just have the luxury of a lot of free time. Finding time to write can be really difficult. The obvious disclaimer for this video is that everyone is different. I can't necessarily anticipate the needs of every person's schedule or the amount or lack of time that different people have, but I hope that the tips in this video can help you if you're struggling to find time to write. But of course, we all need to take these tips and use kind of our own discretion when applying them based on our understanding of the amount of time and the type of time that we have. Tip number 1, figure out what type of writing schedule works for you. Now, most people, when they think, okay, how do I find time to write? The obvious first thought is, well, I know, I'll make a schedule, but not all schedules are created equal, and it's important that you find the type of schedule that works best for you. A lot of people's natural first impulse is to try and find time to write every single day and schedule that very consistently, but that type of consistency is just not how everyone works. You know, when you're trying to find a writing schedule that works for you, it kind of needs to be a combination of two things. It needs to fit everything else in your life and the type of time that you have, but then it also needs to work with your writing process. You know, some people prefer the consistency of writing every day or in little bursts, whereas other people may prefer to write for longer periods of time but take more rest days. This is me, you know, I only need to write a few days in the week, but when I do write, I want to have a lot of time to work on writing. But if I'm editing something, it's kind of the opposite. If I'm editing, I want to work on it every single day, but just a little bit. You can also ask yourself questions like, am I a night owl or a morning person? You know, when am I most awake and ready to be creative? Number 2, try tacking writing on to an existing habit. Instead of trying to look at writing as kind of an isolated habit or event, try adding it on to an existing habit that you already do consistently. If you're trying to make writing a habit, this is one of the easiest and best ways to get it to stick, because you're kind of just jumping off a habit you've already established, something you already know you're going to do every day. You know, if you're a morning person and you have kind of like a really set morning routine, maybe you want to try waking up 20 minutes earlier and adding a 20-minute writing sprint into your morning routine. For a long time when I was a student, my writing habit was to write after dinner. It was really easy to add writing on to that habit because it was something that I always knew was going to happen every single day. And so if my writing habit was after dinner, then I do my writing. It made it really easy to establish that as a consistent habit. Tacking writing on to something that you already do every day or several times a week makes it just kind of feel like an extension of that habit and will make it more likely that you'll be able to stick to it. Number 3, start paying attention to when you procrastinate. Most people procrastinate. It's pretty normal. But what if you started paying attention to every time you procrastinate and try to reallocate the procrastination time to writing? You know, as writers, most of us will find ourselves procrastinating writing at some point or another. It's pretty normal. So if you notice yourself procrastinating, take active note of it. Maybe try writing it down. Every time you find yourself procrastinating, write down the time and what you found yourself using to procrastinate with. If you start to notice a trend that there's something you often find yourself procrastinating with, try making it a rule that you always write before doing that thing. If you find yourself procrastinating by watching TV, make it a rule that you can't watch any TV until after you write for the day. Number 4, don't try to multitask. If you're really busy, you've probably tried multitasking, writing with other things at some point. And so this seems counterintuitive. If I'm super busy, wouldn't multitasking be the ideal solution? Well, what will almost always happen, unless you are a very skilled multitasker, what will probably happen, the multitasking will be entirely the other thing and pretty much no writing. A short amount of compressed time where you can just focus on your book and work solely on your book is probably more valuable than an extended period of time of multitasking where you just work on the other task and don't work on writing at all. Now, obviously, if you know yourself to be a skilled multitasker and you know that you actually work best when multitasking, maybe you want to skip this piece of advice. But I think for most people, the idea of multitasking is a bit better than in actuality. You know, multitasking works best when there's one thing that you can do with your full mind and one thing you can do kind of aimlessly, right? But writing takes a lot of focus and a lot of energy. So if you're trying to focus on writing while doing something else that also requires a lot of thinking and energy, you probably won't end up doing any writing at all. Which leads to step 5. Quality over quantity. If you don't have much time to write, instead of trying to find more time to write, make the most of the time you have. When you do have that time to write, really challenge yourself to focus fully. If you only have 20 minutes to write, make the most of that 20 minutes. You can get a lot done in 20 minutes if you really challenge yourself to just focus. Turn off the internet, put on some headphones, block out the people around you. Don't try to have a conversation with someone while you're writing. Don't have other tabs with work or school or etc. or anything else open so you can just easily click out of your writing. And in that really small window that you have, just see if you can get as much writing done as possible. If you only have 20 minutes to write, but then during that 20 minutes you decide, oh, I'll just answer an email. Oh, I'll just go on Twitter for a bit. Well, that 20 minutes has suddenly turned to 5 minutes. It can be easy to sit down to write and then not really do any writing because you're distracted by a million other things. So if you don't have much time, the key isn't to find more time, it's to make the absolute most of the little time that you have. Writing sprints can be really helpful, so setting a timer and just don't stop writing until the timer goes off. There are even websites like Write or Die where if you stop writing, it starts deleting your words, which is absolutely terrifying to me, but it works for some people. Or use apps like Self-Control to block websites that tend to distract you during the time that you're writing. And tip number 6, prioritize. Sometimes finding time to write is just about prioritizing writing over other things. It can be very easy to just never prioritize writing and always prioritize other stuff. But sometimes if you want to find time to write, the key is just to prioritize it over other things. Obviously, there's a balance to be found. You should still find time for yourself to relax and don't feel like you have to write in every spare moment of the day. Ask yourself what things in your life bring you the least value and see if you can start replacing those things with writing time instead. If you've scheduled in time to write, stick to that as if it's a meeting with another person rather than something that you can just easily bail on as soon as other plans come up. It's very easy to just keep never prioritizing writing and feel like we're just doing it this one time, but then continue to do it every single day and then never get anything done. Ultimately, this is probably the most important thing if you want to get a regular writing habit and get your words done, is just to move writing up in your list of priorities. So that's all for today's video. I would just like to know how you find time to write in the comments. What's your secret? Where do you find you get the most writing done? So thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos from us. We've got new writing, editing, and publishing tips every Tuesday and Friday. Until next time, bye.